Okay, hi everyone. We're back. I hope you're all there. I can't see you, but I'm looking. I'm gonna ask Monroney. This is Mozart part 2. Let's give a little recap of the part 1. Okay, I hope you all remember about Mozart. He is Austrian. He was a child prodigy. Okay, keyboard virtuoso, violinist, fantastic composer, okay? One of the three classical giants, okay? Our classical greats. Mozart, Beethoven, Haydn, okay? Started composing from age 5. Just fantastic from 5, writing pieces. He worked as a concert master, right? At this time, you were either like a skilled servant or you could freelance, okay? You could work for a family and almost like a slave to them, or you could freelance. So Mozart did the working for a family, and he didn't really like that. He didn't want to be tied to them, so then he went off and moved to Vienna and freelanced. So he got a taste of freedom. He liked it. He quickly won success in Vienna. He wrote an opera that people loved. He became known as one of the most fabulous keyboard players. So that all happened, okay? From his tours, he met people. He developed this international style, okay? Italian influence, German influence, French influence, English influence. He got to see all of these styles firsthand, and they show up in his writing. They affect his writing. So he has quite the international style. Okay, so it's Johann Schobert and J.C. Bach, who were early influences of Mozart. Okay, he wrote operas, symphonies, minuets, all when he was very young, 5, 8, 9. He composed for his own concerts, as a lot of pianists did, wrote pieces so he could play. He was publishing pieces. He wrote on commission. People would ask him to write. Okay, so he was freelancing, composing, teaching composition, teaching pianist. He was appointed chamber music composer to the emperor, and that was only because they wanted him to stay in Vienna. It wasn't like a servant position, just so he would stay. So he has almost 600 compositions we talked about, and it's all identified by a K, okay? If you see a Mozart piece, symphony in G major K 525, it's all going to have a K number. That is how they're cataloged. Okay, he's also influenced by J.S. Bach, Handel, Haydn. Him and Haydn were close friends, even though he was quite a bit younger. Okay, they were friends. Haydn came to Vienna every winter, so they shared ideas. They influenced each other. So now we'll get to the second part of Mozart. Okay, so first up, Mozart's piano music, which, of course, I love. He is a virtuoso pianist. His style is very well represented in his piano music. You hear always this signature trill that's a Mozart thing, always in his sonatas and such. He's writing sonatas, fantasies, variations, rondos, piano duets, piano concertos that we'll talk more about. Okay, they're written for himself to play, for his students, for music making at the home, like amateur music making, for publication. All the reasons why he's writing. He has 19 piano sonatas that are among his most popular works. Okay, there are some very popular ones that all pianists should know or recognize. He wrote 6 sonatas while he was in Munich that demonstrate his command of this piano sonata genre. So, his piano sonatas show variety of keys, variety of form, variety of content. Okay, Mozart is seeking to explore all of the possibilities of the sonata. Okay, he's not just keeping it the standard way. He's seeking possibilities, he's exploring them, he's wanting to make them diverse, he's posing challenges for the players. He's doing all of this through his piano sonatas. We'll look at and listen to a brief piece of this piano sonata in F major. Yeah, to look at his style. This very much exemplifies Mozart's style at the beginning of his Vienna period. Okay, this is the time he started freelancing. So, something about Haydn is he built themes by varying small motives or contrasting gestures. But Mozart, his themes were longer, his themes were song-like. Okay, he had all these other influences. So this comes from maybe his Italian aria influence, long song-like themes. So here's one of this. I'll just play the theme, the opening melody of this one. Okay, this is his opening theme. It's long, it's song-like, it's beautiful, okay? It's unlike Haydn, who have this small little motive. He has this long one. So his themes unfold naturally, spontaneously sometimes. But he usually has these very balanced phrases. And this is in your book, and you can look more in depth to it, but it's measures 1 through 12 is what I just played, that opening theme. And let's play it again. I'll play the left-hand part too. Here's his opening. The first 12 measures of the piece is his opening theme. Okay, this is the first idea. Something else Mozart does, he usually throws in a contrasting idea right within that first theme area. So that's going to come right where I just left off. Measures 12 to 22, contrasting idea. So we just ended here. So there it is. You have this first, and then he's throwing you something else. And then we're going to have another segment right after this second theme. We're getting forte. We're getting something different. Okay, he's throwing something totally different at us again. So this first page of music, within 25 measures, we have 3 different ideas. All composers of the time are using contrast. They're not just going to bore you and keep one thing. But Mozart had great skill for it. The other people could not match his skill for contrast. And perhaps this is because of his travels, because he saw firsthand and experienced the different styles. So, he is one of the great users of contrast, as in this piano sonata. Contrast is used to delineate form, to convey feelings, just to provide variety. So all of these things. This is just a little bit of the piano music. Okay, guys, are you still with me? Is everyone awake? Monroe, just slap them if they're not. Like, losing some of them. Drink some coffee. Guys, something's changed, but like coffee, I'll always be drinking it. Not gonna change. Send you some. Yeah, wake up. Jump up around for a minute. I wake myself up. Ooh, Good grief. So, chamber music, onto his chamber music, because what else did I tell you guys last time? Mozart wrote in every musical genre of his day. Okay, unlike other people, some people are not doing that. Bach is fantastic. He's not writing operas, okay? He's a master of every genre he wrote. Mozart's mastering all of the genres. He's writing all of them, okay? So we're going to have a little rundown of all of that. Chamber music, he wrote 16 quartets in the early 1770s. He didn't write in this genre again until 1782. And he did that with a couple of things. He would write a lot of pieces early on, take a big amount of time off, and not writing them again till later. It's not an unusual thing. He wrote a set of 6 quartets and dedicated to them to Haydn, okay, in gratitude for everything that he learned from him. Because Haydn is one of his early influences. He's learning a lot from Haydn. And it's kind of nice. They're at the same time. Mozart rose to fame first, but they're really not competitors, okay? They're learning from each other. So these quartets dedicated to Haydn, they show his capacity to write really nice string quartets and absorb this style without merely copying Haydn. He's influenced by Haydn. He's getting things from Haydn. He's not just copying him, okay? He's not doing that. That's not cool. So, chamber music stuff, that means he's writing string quartets. He wrote quintets for piano and winds, clarinet quintets, flute quartets, oboe quartets, horn quintets, okay? He's writing for all of these different instruments, just some of his chamber music pieces. Okay, serenades and divermentos. This is another category of pieces that Mozart is writing. He composed these in the early 1770s and 1780s. These are for garden parties, for outdoor performances, weddings, birthdays, concerts at homes. That's what all of these pieces were used for. That's usually just background music, just entertainment. Somebody's having a little garden party and you'll have this little group set up playing them. But Mozart took it very seriously. He didn't just treat them as, light entertainment pieces. He was quite serious with them. But all of them have this thing in common: simplicity of material, simplicity of treatment. Okay, while he's taking them as serious compositions, they're not overly complex. They're not hard for the average person to play. Okay, they are simple. Most familiar is A Little Night to Music, Ein klein Nachtmusik, which I hope you're all familiar with, but we'll have some listening to that piece, I hope. And now on to the piano concertos, which are wonderful. These were primarily composed for his own concerts, for him to play. And like I said, that's what a lot of composers have done. If they're virtuoso pianists, they're writing stuff for themselves, for violinists or whatever. They write music for themselves. So they're intended to please the whole range of listeners. They are not just for people who know stuff about music. He wants everyone. And Mozart said this thing about his 3 Vienna concertos. They're a happy medium between what's too difficult and what's too easy, okay? They're somewhere in between. They're brilliant. They're pleasing to the ear. They're natural. It's not just for musicians to understand, but also the common listener finds them satisfying as well. So he wanted everyone to enjoy his piano concertos. He wrote 17 in Vienna. All are masterpieces, okay? Great at the genre. He follows the traditional 3-movement pattern. Okay, it's just like sonatas, concertos. They have a general 3 movements: fast, slow, fast. Like all piano concertos, there's a cadenza for the soloist at the end, and he usually interrupts the final ritornello with this cadenza. He does some odd things in his, because normally the orchestra has a long introduction, but in one of his piano concertos, the orchestra plays like 2 measures and the piano comes in right away. He does some shocking things, some unusual things with his. And he usually punctuates these long solo passages with sections of full orchestra. So you just have some solo going, and then suddenly full orchestra is coming back. So concertos are showpieces, okay? No matter whoever wrote them, they're showpieces. They're meant to dazzle, entertain the audience. But Mozart never allowed display to get the upper hand. We had some very showy, like Liszt is just super showy pianist, and Mozart wanted people to be amazed, but he didn't want it to just be about the show. So he always maintained a balance between the soloist and the orchestra. It's not just a solo piece, okay? The orchestra is important too. He maintained a well balance between the two parts. Symphonies. That's, of course, Mozart is also writing those. Early in life, he wrote about 50 symphonies. In his last 10 years of life, he only wrote 6. So he had a huge outpouring of them early, and then he only wrote 6. Many of the early ones are Italian 3-movement form. Most of the later ones are standard 4-movement. So if we're talking about sonatas, classical sonatas, piano concertos, they're a 3-movement, fast, slow, fast. Typically, symphony is 4 movements, okay? But Mozart's early, it's that Italian influence, and there are only 3. And then the later ones go to the standard 4 movement. So his mature symphonies, he's very serious in his writing. Again, I said that about several things. He writes with great seriousness. He devotes much time and thought to them. It's not just quick and thrown together. I think that's why later in life he only wrote 6, because he's taking a lot longer. He's spending a lot more time on them. For some examples, the Prague Symphony, the Jupiter Symphony, these are a couple of his famous symphonies. He has a symphony in G minor, which opens piano. Okay, I've talked about some of these shocking things Mozart does, like in his concertos. He opens this symphony piano, okay, which is rare in symphonies. You often have this loud opening, but he kind of shocks us. And he always balances seriousness and humor. Like Haydn, Haydn his Surprise Symphony, Haydn has his Farewell Symphony. Haydn always has this humoristic characteristics. Mozart is doing some of that same thing. So he's balancing seriousness, and he's also adding some humor to the mix. And here we come to Mozart's operas, okay? Opera is one of the most prestigious musical genres, right? It's like, oh, it's dazzling, it's opera, it's very prestigious and proper. Mozart eagerly saw opportunities to compose for the stage. He had that commission in Munich, and he loved it, and he really enjoyed composing for the stage. He's writing like Singspiel as well, which is kind of like a form of opera. And he's bringing this into the great realm of art, okay? He's making Singspiel great and not just looked over. He's writing Italian comic operas like The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, Casi fan tutte. He's writing a lot of Italian comic. And all librettos are set by Lorenzo da Ponte. He wrote these 3 Italian comic librettos. And Lorenzo, he's giving a greater depth to the characters, okay? Mozart's characters have a great depth. He's intensifying social tensions between classes. He's introducing moral issues. So there's a lot of great depth in his operas and character development and stuff. He's combining ongoing dramatic action and musical form. So there's a big combination there. One of his operas is Don Giovanni. This is a comic opera, incorporating his opera seria into his comic opera, okay? He has some opera seria elements in his comic opera, situations, styles, some serious ones. And this Don Giovanni, there's 3 levels of like character development. You have the nobles, and they're dramatic and opera seria and super dramatic, okay? And then you have the lower class, and they're the more humor people, the lighthearted. And then Don Giovanni, who's the main character, and he goes back and forth and transitions between the 2 worlds. Another big one is the magic flute, okay? Hopefully you guys have heard of that. You should have heard of that. It was actually written in his last year of life. It's technically a Singspiel. It uses spoken dialogue instead of recitative. So hopefully you guys can watch a little bit of that, but it has spoken dialogue that it uses. It's seen as the first great German opera, is the Magic Flute. First great German opera might be a good Quiz question. I don't know. So he's combining a lot of different styles in this. Italian opera seria, the folk humor from German singspiel, solo aria, buffo ensemble, very solemn choral scenes, reviving some Baroque chorale prelude technique. He's combining a lot of different things, which just remember, this is typical of Mozart in all he's doing, okay? Because of his travels, combination of styles. Mozart also composed church music. It's not a big genre of his. It's not something he did a lot, but he did. It's not common. His pieces are not so well known. He just has this Mass in C minor and one unfinished Requiem. Those are his most well known church music pieces. Masses, for the most part, he wrote masses. Symphonic, operatic idioms are in them. Intermingled fugues, solo for chorus and soloist. They're alternating, solo and chorus. Orchestral accompaniment, just some characteristics. But it's definitely not one of his big genres. He did have this unfinished Requiem, okay, that someone finished after he died. And this is kind of they use this as a metaphor for Mozart's life. He had this sudden, unexpected death, and it kind of cut off his career at the high point of it. So he died very suddenly. But his music has found a secure place among listeners. And like I said, him and Haydn are seen as equals by the time he passes away. Not one is greater than the other, but they're influencing and they're learning from each other. He encountered and absorbed almost every current style. Remember that about him, right? He's traveled, he's seen it firsthand, he's incorporated it into his writing. He's just masterful at depicting moods and characters in his opera. He gives them great depth. It's not just it's very in-depth character development. He has a rich variety of instrumental music. So, lots of things to remember about him. He's writing in all the genres, okay? He's very combining lots of different styles. His operas are great, the first great German opera. So, that kind of sums up Mozart for you. So, hopefully you guys can listen to some of his pieces now. See you. Still miss you. Bye.